Competitive Colin. Colin Clont hated being short. He felt everyone was looking down on him the whole time. In fairness to them, they couldn't help it. Every night, Colin would lie in bed and curse his parents for being short and for making him short.
It's not fair. Blast my titchy mom and dad. Because of them, I will never be tall.
He would say to himself.
But I will show it to everyone I am a giant among men.
Colin had to win at everything. Rules and fair play meant nothing to him. He had to be the winner. Number one. Because he was so competitive, Colin was not good company. When playing pass the parcel at parties, he would never ever let go of the parcel, even if the grown-up in charge spun it around the room to try and get him off of it.
I am not letting go.
For musical chairs, he was even worse. Colin would stick a chair to the bottom of his trousers with superglue at the start of the game so he couldn't lose.
I am the winner!
Once, in a game of hide-and-seek, the boy hid in a chest of drawers for a whole week because he was so adamant that he would never be found, and that he'd be crowned the hide-and-seek champion forever. Colin would watch TV quiz shows and memorise the answers. Then he would watch them on repeat with his parents and shout out all the answers before they could.
Cassie, I am the cleverest.
If the boy was taking part in a 3-legged race, he would borrow his grandmother's wooden leg and strap that to his own leg. That way he wouldn't be slowed down by being tied to anyone else.
I won gold. But here's your leg back, Granny.
He would shout as he hurled it across the playing field at her, causing her to topple to the ground.
Yeah.
If Colin was losing badly at a board game, the boy would simply kick the board and all the counters up in the air, and pretend it was an accident as he crossed his legs.
Pish! Well, let's just say I won that one, yeah?
In sack races, Colin would cunningly conceal a mini motorbike under his sack and zoom past the other children. When playing musical statues, Colin would dip himself in cement and let it dry first. That way he couldn't move a muscle and would win the game. The downside was that he would have to be smashed out of the cement afterwards with a sledgehammer. In exams, Colin would make sure he came top of the class every time by using a mini microphone, an earpiece, and a boy with a pile of textbooks outside, who he had bribed with chocolate.
100% again!
In running races at school, Colin would bring his own starter pistol along. This way, he would only fire once he had crossed the finish line.
I won! Bang, bang!
In football matches, Colin would tie the ball to his boot, so he never had to pass it, and it would be impossible for anyone else other than him to score.
Goal!
Most nights, Colin would add a cup, medal or certificate to the huge trophy cabinet he had in his bedroom. Whenever he did win something, the boy gave himself a pat on the back.
Well done, Colin, yes,
he would tell himself. Because he had appeared to come top in everything, news soon spread. There were stories in local newspapers.
Local lad wins a medal or something despite being short.
Before he broke through to national newspapers. Eventually, Colin found himself being interviewed on television.
That's a mighty impressive trophy cabinet, Colin,
the presenter remarked.
Oh, thank you. I guess I am just the best at everything, yeah?
And what's incredible is, looking at you, you can't be more than 5 years old.
I am 10.
Oops.
Sitting in his oak-panelled office watching the interview was the head of the British Olympic team, Lord Sock. Sock was a portly old man with a bushy white moustache, who in the distant past had been an athlete himself.
This boy is answered to himself,
he exclaimed.
He is a winning machine.
The man looked up the boy's number and picked up the telephone right away.
Brr, brr.
Bring, 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 bring.
Colin Clont?
Yes?
I am Lord Sock. You may have heard of me.
Oh, why, of course, yes. Yes, I mean, Lord.
Our top athlete has just broken his leg in training. And it's the 100-meter sprint on Saturday. Colin Clont, your country needs you to bring home the gold.
The other end of the line went quiet, The boy felt sick to his stomach. Cheating in a school sports day was one thing, but trickery in the Olympic Games was quite another.
Colin? Colin? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Lord Sock.
The boy's mind was racing. He began to imagine the glory of winning. If he was the fastest man in the world, his height would never be mentioned again. A golden haze filled his head. There was no bigger competition in the world than the Olympic Games. There was no bigger prize than an Olympic gold medal. Competitive Colin just couldn't help himself.
Well, boy, have you made up your mind?
Yeah. And it's a yeah.
Splendid. We'll see you at the British Olympic Team training camp first thing tomorrow. It's only an hour away for you. If you run half an hour.
But, my lord.
The boy spluttered. He looked at his trophy cabinet. He realised there wasn't one award that he had received on merit. He had cheated horrendously to win absolutely everything.
Yes, boy.
I prefer to train alone, yeah?
Alone?
In all his years in sport, Lord Sock had never heard of such a thing.
Yes, in my bedroom.
Your bedroom?
Now the man was utterly incredulous.
Yes, Lord.
But this is the 100-meter sprint. How big is your bedroom?
I don't know exactly, Lord.
Hazard a guess.
5 meters across?
Well, how are you going to practice running 100 meters in such a small room?
Colin thought for a moment.
I will run around in circles.
The boy had a point.
Well, your sports record speaks for itself. We will see you on the day of the race. Don't let us down, Colin.
With that, Lord Sock hung up the telephone. Colin felt wobbly and slumped on his bed. He was going to have to think of something big if he was to pull off a victory at the Olympic Games. That night he stayed awake until dawn, dreaming up all the different ways that he could cheat. Fire himself out of a Callan and fly past the finish line.
Boom!
Block the way of his competitors by herding sheep onto the track. Attach the back of the other competitors' underpants to heavy weights, so as they set off they were pinged straight back. Bing! Tie everyone's shoelaces together, so as soon as the starter pistol fires, the runners all crash to the ground in a heap. Drive an ice cream van onto the running track and serve all his fellow competitors free giant Mr. Whippies, giving them the indigestion before the race. Let off a stink bomb at the start line. Use a sleigh and a pack of huskies in the hope that they might make him go faster. Or to lie and tell everyone else it's actually an egg and spoon race and distribute the eggs and spoons to slow them all down. Hitch a ride on the back of a cheetah, the world's fastest animal. Simply run faster than everyone else? Sadly, all these ideas seemed doomed to fail, especially the last one. Just as Colin was about to call the whole thing off, his imagination swirled with the perfect plan. Rocket-propelled shoes. First, he bought the biggest running shoes he could find. These were at least twice the size of Colin's actual feet and made him look a bit like a clown. Second, he hollowed out holes in the soles so he could install some wheels that he had prized off his old toy cars. Third, he laid his hands on the most powerful fireworks he could find. He cut open the backs of his shoes and placed the rockets inside. While the other competitors would have to run as fast as they could, Colin would simply light the fuses on his fireworks and shoot past them in his special rocket-propelled shoes and win the gold medal. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, you're smarter than I expected,
remarked Lord Sock as he laid eyes on the boy for the first time.
Oh, not you as well,
moaned Colin. The pair were standing in the vast Olympic Stadium in Tokyo, Japan. The atmosphere was electric. Flags of every country in the world flew. Hundreds of thousands of sports fans were packed in their seats. Cameras from around the globe were beaming every event live to an audience of billions. The man looked down at the boy's enormous running shoes.
My, what huge feet you have!
Colin's shoes were nearly as long as he was tall. He had been hoping no one would notice how big they were, but it was impossible not to.
Oh, thank you, Lord. That's why I can run so fast.
Is it really, boy?
Well, I say run. I do have an unusual way of running, where my feet never leave the ground.
Lord Sock could not hide his shock.
I am extremely concerned about this boy. You are representing a great country.
And it is a great country, as it has great in its title.
In the most important sporting event in the world. And you tell me you run without your feet ever leaving the ground? I have never heard of such nonsense in all my life, Colin. I am pulling you from the race.
No, Lord, please, I will win gold. I promise you.
A towering figure passed the boy. This was Ike Scarpa, representing Jamaica. He was the fastest man in the world, with 103 Olympic gold medals to his name. He looked at Colin and chuckled to himself. Ike headed straight for the racetrack.
You better get going, boy,
said Lord Sock. With some difficulty, Colin rolled to the start line. An Olympic official dressed in a blazer stepped up to the track, starting pistol in hand.
Please take your places on the start line, gentlemen.
Ike was next to Colin. When the man crouched, he was still taller than Colin when he was standing up.
Nice for the clown to lend you his shoes, man,
murmured Ike with a smirk. Colin shook his head. He was desperate to teach this handsome, funny, and worst of all, tall man a lesson. The boy reached into his shorts and pulled out a craftily concealed box of matches.
On your marks,
called out the official.
I'll be waiting at the finish line with a cup of British tea for your man,
said Ike. Colin lit the fuse in his left shoe.
Get the set.
However, Colin's fingers burned, and he dropped the match before he could light the next fuse.
Ow!
This could spell disaster. The starter pistol fired. The athletes powered towards the finish line, led, as always, by Ike Scarpa. With only one firework lit and his right foot being dragged along behind, Colin found it impossible to go in a straight line. Instead, he shot off sideways and smashed into one of the runners.
No!
Colin sent the man flying. The runner fell to the ground. Spinning around uncontrollably like a giraffe at its first roller disco, Colin took out a few more runners.
Ow!
They fell to the ground. Now, spinning on one leg like an ice dance routine gone horribly wrong, Colin's other foot with its giant shoe spun around, clumping some of the others' runners in the face. Ow! They fell to the ground in a heap. Soon, there was just one man standing. It was, of course, the Olympic legend Ike Scarpa. Just as he was about to cross the finish line and win his 104th Olympic gold medal, the firework in Colin's shoe exploded. Sending the boy flying up towards the sky. Colin's huge rocket-propelled shoe zoomed through the air. His little body flailing behind, he shot high above the clouds. The boy rather liked it up there. It was calm and peaceful. For a moment, Colin was suspended there, perfectly still. But what goes up must come down. At speed, looking far below, he could see Ike Scarpa was about to cross the finish line. But when he looked up, Colin landed on top of him.
Man.
Knocking him out cold. Ike Scarpa fell to the ground like a mighty oak. Sitting on top of the man, all the boy had to do now was stand up and cross over the finish line. He held up his hands in triumph. The crowd in Tokyo were furious. Boo! 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 This little British boy had wrecked the race and knocked out the world's fastest man.
That was in disgrace,
thundered Lord Sock, as he marched up to the boy.
You should be ashamed of yourself. You have let the Olympics down. You have let Great Britain down. Most of all, you have let yourself down.
Before Colin could reply, a voice boomed over the loudspeaker system. The winner of the 100-metre sprint is Colin Clont of Great Britain!
Boo!
The boos became louder still.
Boo! Boo!
Before he knew it, the Olympic officials had whisked Colin off to the winner's podium. There, he was not only awarded a gold medal, but a silver and bronze too, as none of the other competitors had crossed the finish line at all. At that moment, they were all being stretchered off the running track. Colin's smug face was beamed around the world as 100,000 people in the stadium and billions around the world had booed him.
Boo! Boo!
From that moment, Colin Clont became public enemy number one. The boy couldn't walk down the street anywhere in the world without strangers booing him and even throwing rotten fruit at him.
Cheat! Boo!
You stink face!
Cheat! Get out of here!
Rocket face!
Oh, you fat noodle!
This meant Colin could never go out. He had to stay in his bedroom with the curtains closed, just in case some angry passerby hurled a rotten tomato at the window. The boy's 3 Olympic medals took pride of place in his trophy cabinet. Every night before he went to bed, he placed them around his neck and admired himself in the mirror.
I am the only person to have ever come first, second, and third in the same race.
He would tell himself.
That means I am the absolute best, and I am not short at all.
Then the boy would give himself a little pat on the back and sit alone in his darkened room,